The greatest threat to Sparta was its internal enemies, the so-called Helots. Sparta was 90% Helots. They had lived in the valley before the Spartans, had been subjugated despite their superior numbers, and now led a life as serf farmers, men-at-arms, and ass-boys. The Peloponnesian War began with the rivalry of Sparta and Athens. Around 500 BC, Sparta was the largest military power in Greece. With the founding of the Attic Sea League, Athens now had the strongest naval power on the coasts of Greece and the Aegean. The strength of the Attic Sea League consisted of an alliance with other polis, coasts and island cities, as well as the concentration of financial resources and naval capacity under Athens. The beginning of the Peloponnesian Wars took place between 457 and 445 BC and was just the start of further conflicts between the alliance members on the Greek mainland. At that time, the city of Megara seceded from the Peloponnesian League and joined the Attic Sea League. At the same time, Thebes wanted to start a war against Phocis. It was about the sanctuary of Delphi, but Phocis was a member of the Attic Sea League at the time. So Thebes joined the Peloponnesian League to start a war with Phocis and had Sparta as an ally. The fighting was rarely particularly big, but rather like between allies. The approach was tactical. It was rare for two land armies with over 5,000 fighters each to meet. Most battles generally took place at sea. On the one hand, Athens feared the Spartan phalanx. But Sparta had nothing to report on the sea. On the other hand, the warring parties knew each other's battle strategies particularly well and had detailed local knowledge. This often led to guerrilla fighting. Individual great heroes went out, set fire to bales of hay, and burned down an entire village. The Second Holy War took place in 449 BC. As part of this, the Spartans undertook an expedition against Phocis, seized the Delphic sanctuary, and handed it over to the Delphics. As a result, the Phocians lost control of the sanctuary. Delphi became independent again. As early as 448 BC. Soon after the departure of the Spartans, an Attic army led by Pericles rushed to Phocis, conquered Delphi, and restored the Phocian possession of the temple. After the three known major battles between Athens and Boeotia in the course of the 12 Years' War, the Second Peloponnesian War broke out from 431 to 404 BC. The Second Peloponnesian War followed in 431 BC. The decisive war between Athens and Sparta. Against Athens' desire for hegemony, Sparta proclaimed the freedom and independence of all Greeks. The democracy of Athens stood for the oppression of its allies, and the military state of Sparta stood for freedom. The war lasted almost 30 years, and there were many war horrors. Thucydides reports on the decline of morals. The Athenians entrenched themselves behind their walls, and the Spartan army was unable to take Athens given the state of siege technology at the time. The Athenians built a long wall, a connection from the city of Athens to the coastal port, to protect their fleet. This created a stalemate. So the Spartans stood in front of the Athenian walls with their pointed sticks and wanted to fight with the Athenians, but they didn't want to and stayed behind their walls. The Athenians had a different way of fighting the Spartans, with whitesmithing and expanding power. So the war dragged on with prisoner exchanges and power games. Since the capture of Athens was not possible for the Spartiates, they began operations in Thrace and Macedonia to expand their sphere of influence and gain new allies. The Battle of Delion took place during the Peloponnesian War in 424 BC. In it, the Athenians and the Boeotians faced each other. The Athenians attacked the Boeotian army and, despite the uphill approach, managed to push back the Boeotians' left wing with their traditionally stronger right wing. The able-bodied population of Thespiae was almost completely destroyed. When the hoplites of the Athenian right wing, who already saw themselves victorious, saw fresh enemy cavalry arriving and entering the fray, they lost their courage. The strain of the uphill storm, the ensuing battle, and the hopes of tangible victory and the end of the battle did not allow for renewed strain. The Boeotians pursued the Athenians until sunset. The fugitives managed to escape to their fortified camp in Delion, but the Boeotians informed them that they viewed the temple grounds as a holy place that the Athenians had to leave. The Athenians replied that they had won the place with the right of the conqueror, that it was now sacred to them, and that they were only acting in self-defense. They faced each other like this for 2 weeks, but in the meantime the Boeotians received reinforcements from 2,000 Corinthian hoplites. According to Thucydides, the Corinthians then set the Athenians' position on fire with a type of flamethrower. The Athenian offensive efforts failed, as did the Sicily campaign, when they lost 5,000 hoplites and 30,000 rowers there. There were numerous battles, with the Athenians avoiding open land battle and operating with their superior fleet. The Spartans worked steadily to expand their fleet and received unexpected support from Persia. The Persians conducted negotiations with the Spartiates. Finally, in 410 BC, both parties agreed to a draft treaty. The Spartans ceded the coastal territories in Asia Minor in exchange for Persian tribute and a fleet. The balance of power changed when Sparta, with the help of the Persians, set up its own fleet and defeated the Athenians, first at sea and then finally conquering the city of Athens. In 404 BC, the war ended with a complete defeat for the Athenians, who had to accept the peace conditions dictated by Sparta. The Attic Sea League was thus dissolved. However, Sparta also used this peace as a tool to assert its hegemonic position in Greece by interpreting the autonomy clause in such a way that any merger of polis into a league was prohibited. Not only was the revival of the Attic League impossible, but the Boeotian League was also to be dissolved, as was the Chalcidic League in northern Greece. The expansion efforts of the Chalcidic League under the leadership of Olynthus were crushed by Sparta, and the league was dissolved. Sparta successfully demonstrated its power one last time under King Agesilaus II, before resistance from the Boeotian League under Thebes put an end to its hegemony shortly afterwards. Over time, further conflict broke out on the Greek mainland.